Ooh, I know what let's do. Let's talk about the ocean.
Well, we always have an odd one in the crowd.
So it's kind of odd.
Decidedly odd.
Doesn't that strike you as a little bit odd?
No, that doesn't strike me as a little bit odd.
It's the Bob and Sheri Oddcast, with stuff we wouldn't, couldn't, or shouldn't do on the regular show. Now, here's the Oddcast.
The ocean is such a vastly mysterious thing. Like, we've only explored 5% of the world's oceans, and we've only mapped 20% of the seafloor. We had Max and I did an episode of True Weird Stuff over the summer, I think, where we took kind of a deep dive, so to speak, into Earth's oceans. And it's shocking how little we know, right? It's shocking how many mysteries revolve around the ocean. And it's fascinating. And here's the first question that we're going to look at in this episode of the Oddcast. Where did all of the water on Earth come from? Have you ever thought to ask that?
No, I never thought to ask that. I mean, I just assumed that it was here. It was here when I arrived.
More than 70% of this planet is covered in water. We don't think of it as a water world because we're land creatures. But the truth is we are land creatures who live on a water world. So that's a lot. 70% ocean. That's about 220 million miles. And it is the largest habitable area on Earth, just not habitable by us. But here's the bizarre thing, because I got to wondering, like, yeah, wait a minute. Because water is a precious and rare thing, at least in our solar system, right? Where did we get all this water? We're just a big watery pebble. Well, while we know that the Earth formed around 4.5 billion years ago, scientists don't really know where the water came from, which is kind of troubling. Because I know I was really hoping when I went looking to find someone at like Stanford or the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, somebody that would be like, oh yes, let me tell you where the water on Earth came from. We really don't know. So there are two different theories. The first one is that Earth formed in a region of space where there was rocks and, stuff like that, but there was also water in some form. So where Earth formed in space, there was water, and we got some of it. The second theory is that Earth formed in a region of space that was too hot to have any kind of water, and that the water here on Earth was delivered to us from meteorites and asteroids, which I have a hard time believing that you could cover this planet 220 surface miles in water just from meteorites and asteroids. And even if you account for, like, in the early days of the solar system, we were being bombarded by that. It's just, wow, that's kind of hard to wrap your head around. Do you not agree?
Well, is it possible that all the ingredients to make the water were already here, and those asteroids brought the right set of circumstances, chemically, temperature-wise, or whatever, in order to put all of the elements together to form water?
Look at you. I'm so proud. Hang on. I'm so proud.
Sheri, do you know what? When you just said that, this is like when I watched Jeopardy with my parents, and my mother would say to my father, see, he is smart.
Oh, I'm so proud.
Like my ignorance was somehow a topic of conversation, and she's going, I was defending him. You said he was stupid, but see, he is smart.
Well, you're on to something. They don't think that's the whole answer, but comets, for example, have hydrogen, and the heavy isotope of hydrogen, let's go back to high school chemistry class. Hydrogen's heavy isotope is called deuterium, and comets are loaded with a very high deuterium to hydrogen ratio. And so you can look at those chemical traces and figure out, oh, this chunk of rock used to be a comet. But Max, you're definitely onto something. It's just not the whole answer of where all the water came from. And next, we're going to talk about the noises the ocean is making that we also can't explain. So, talking about the ocean, even though we have no idea how it got onto the planet, we do know that it's really noisy. It's noisy with human activity like ships and whatnot, and animal activity, whales and a lot of undersea life communicates. They talk, just not in a language we can speak. There are underwater volcanoes and underwater earthquakes, all kinds of seismic activity. But there are certain sounds that we absolutely cannot explain. And one of them was first recorded in 1991 by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. We still detect it today. We don't know where it's coming from. We're going to play it for you in a second here. Each iteration of this sound only lasts a few seconds, and it appears, for what we know now, it appears to come from a point between New Zealand and South America. The activity with this noise peaks in spring and autumn. We have no idea what's causing it. It's called the upsweep. Listen. So this is just straight recording from a hydrophone, underwater microphone. Isn't that something?
It sounds like something from a Saw movie. I've got to be honest.
It's
I mean,
it's a little bit scary, isn't it? And we don't know. It's seasonal, seems to be. It's coming from somewhere. We have a rough idea. It rises in pitch, and it's called the upsweep. And each one is, like I said, just a few seconds. But NOAA managed to record it, and this is what the ocean sounds like underwater. It's kind of like when astronauts told us that space smells like steak, which was so trippy. This is what the ocean sounds like in certain parts of the ocean at certain times of the year. There's another noise that was reported in 2016, and it's called the ping. It comes from the Fury and Hecla Strait in the Canadian Arctic. Hunters said that this noise, whatever it is scaring wildlife away. So the Canadian military went in to investigate, but they were not able to find what was causing the sound. Mining companies were accused, wildlife activists were accused, everybody pointed fingers at each other, but nobody was able to identify what it was. Here's another one. This one was picked up in 1997 via underwater microphones that were thousands of miles apart from each other on the floor of the Pacific, across the Pacific. So they called this the bloop. And some people said, oh, it's probably like top secret military, or maybe it's, coming from like boats in the area. But they've been able to rule all of that out. And they have spent years and years and years trying to figure it out. The closest thing they have now is the sound of an iceberg breaking away from a glacier. Like the ocean is just so mysterious. And even with our satellites, we have the most incredible satellite technology. We can't see the ocean floor at its deepest level, which is thank you, Darby, which is in part why we can't map it.
Hey.
It's freaky, Darby girl. I get it, right?
No,
This kind
pause.
of stuff.
Pause. The people are coming in. Let me get Darby in this room so she won't bark. Can you hold on just for a second? All right. Darby, come here, girl.
Hey, Sheri, I see what you're doing here. I see what you're doing with Lamar. You're bringing him into True Weird Stuff.
You would not believe how, like, slowly but surely he knows about aliens now, and he knows about reincarnation.
He wanted us to pause this. We're not going to pause it.
We're not going to pause it. We're just going to
leave
going.
all this in. We are. I don't think anybody listening cares. I don't think they mind.
No, I don't. This is behind the scenes at Lamar's house with the giant poodle. So, you and I, we spent a lot of time on that True Weird Stuff episode freaking each other out about the ocean. No, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And it is kind of fun to freak Lamar out. I'm trying to remember what did we call that episode?
I'd have to look back and see.
You're right about the ocean, though. It is a formidable, scary. I don't know. I mean, very mysterious.
I think we have to have so much respect for the ocean. Have you ever wanted to be or gone diving, Lamar? Like scuba diving?
I went diving one time. I was on a cruise ship, and it was you could only go down like 25 or 30 foot. And that's not something. If you go take diving lessons, you don't really get in the water for a couple of different lessons. They did a flip chart in a Jeep on the way to the water. So I mean, within 10 minutes, we're under the water. So it was a little bit weird, but I love seeing all the stuff. I would love to actually know how to scuba dive. Now, you couldn't get me to go into a cave or a ship.
Oh no,
I can't. There's
no.
Sheri, the episode of True Weird Stuff you're talking about is Here Be Sea Monsters?
Here Be Sea Monsters. Yeah, that was, I mean, I was about to say that was a really good episode, if I do say so myself. But it's fascinating if you're interested in the world's deep oceans. And in the Here Be Sea Monsters episode, Lamar, we talked about military, merchant marines and military ships and some of the reports that they filed with the Lloyd's of London Insurance Company about some of the things that they encountered in the deepest parts of the world's oceans. And I am of the mind that we do not mock and roll our eyes at people at that level of training and competence. I think we give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
That's one of the things, like I'll be telling my husband about, like, and then there was this British captain on Her Majesty's, gunship or whatever. And he'll be like, oh, people just like to get attention. I'm sorry, but not every mystery in the world can be resolved by people just like to get attention. I'm sorry. Yeah. It's just not so.
These are some serious people. These are
very serious people. And we did so early in True Weird Stuff. We did an episode called The Sea Demon about this legendary, notorious man-eating shark. I mean, it toured the world's oceans and it loved a dirty, salty sailor like more than anything, right? So when we did the Sea Monsters episode, we cross-checked, I cross-referenced all of those ship's logs and insurance reports and made sure that this captain is reporting something and it's clearly that shark because he had like a really distinctive injury on the top of his head. So he was very, very identifiable. So Max and I made sure that we didn't accidentally put that shark into the Sea Monster episode. I have tremendous respect for the ocean and no, I don't belong there. And I am not right for scuba diving because of the, like, you'd get down there, everything would be going pretty well. And then you'd realize where you were. And then I would panic and something stupid would happen. So you have to know yourself, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I couldn't.
And these people that do like underwater cave diving.
Oh, what? No, you couldn't. It would be impossible to get me to do that.
Lamar,
listen. I could not.
Listen to this. So this was some years ago. I can't remember, pre-COVID. Like my life is divided. Things that happened before COVID and things that happened after. This is in the pre-COVID period. Tony and I want to say we were in Minneapolis on business, and we were having drinks with some of the guys that work at one of our radio stations in Minneapolis, and one of them was the engineer. And he is a volunteer rescue diver. And he's let me re-say that. He's a volunteer rescue ice diver. Because if you think about, now he's in northern Minnesota, right? If you think about it, there are a lot of accidents where vehicles end up in the water. And not just, I'm not talking about like ice fishing where, the ice was too thin and the Dodge Ram went through. No, like just, car accidents. People are on an icy road. It's dark. They lose control. The vehicle ends up underwater. And so these underwater ice divers, they go down and they find these vehicles and hook winches or whatever to them. Sometimes it's a search and rescue mission for a person or people. Sometimes it's just strictly for property. So it's not always like this terrible human tragedy, not always. So he's telling us about one of these dives that he had to do, and they drilled holes in the ice for the divers to go down, and the water is absolutely frigid. So they're wearing very specialized ice diving gear, and they are attached to lines, and they have to follow super duper strict protocols because, and this is him describing it to us, when you get down there, everything is bluish and white and there are no landmarks. And it's so easy to get disoriented. And if you weren't tethered, if you didn't have a guideline to bring you back to the hole, that's how people have lost their lives. They got disoriented under the ice and couldn't find the hole to get themselves back out. So this person is volunteering to do that. The phone call comes from sheriff's department or the fire department, and he gets his gear and the other ice divers, and they drop below. It could be 3 feet of solid ice that they've drilled into. They drop below that and they enter that frozen bluish white. He said it's like a dream world, but you cannot allow yourself to be distracted. These people are made of different things than I'm made of, for sure. Do you think you could do that?
Oh, I couldn't. I don't know. I couldn't. Every time I'm watching a movie and somebody drops through the ice or something like that, it freaks me.
I'm with you. That panics me. That whole going through the ice thing, it panics me because what if you don't get to the right spot?
Well, and the thing about it is, as cold as that water is, you've only got, I don't know. See, I always see his movies, and those people are swimming and all this kind of stuff. That water, as cold as that is, because that water's at what, 33 degrees or whatever. I mean, it's right before being ice. It's 30. Your muscles just lock up, I would think. I just couldn't. No.
I when he when he was describing this to us, I don't remember the restaurant that we were in, but I can see it. I can close my eyes and see it. I think I sat there like with my jaw dropped, listening to him describing what it's like to be a volunteer rescue ice diver. And the volunteer part of this is also, I think, a very important thing to look at, the volunteer part of this man doing this and all of these rescue divers doing it. And, of course, I'll spare you the details. He told us a couple of stories that involved people. And he said, I think maybe because of the look on my face, he said it's terrible and there's no way to make it not terrible, but you have to understand how quick it was. And that,
they don't know anything.
How quickly you cannot survive in water that cold.
No, you can't.
So, so I'm not, my husband's a diver. He's a certified diver. Not for me.
Is he really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think he would spend.
Does he do it much?
Well, he'd spend a lot more time underwater if he had a diver to play with. His son, his oldest son, is certified, that none of the rest of us are. And I'm like, I periodically remind him, do you remember like who I am? I don't need to be in situations like that. I'm not right for that. I'm not a high risk daredevil sort of person. I like to read about it. I like to think about it. I like to freak you out by telling you about it, but I don't want to do it. So Kevin actually did there's a place in Florida where you can go cave diving. Probably in like the Crystal River area, that part maybe of Florida. He's done some cave diving. Okay. No.
Yeah, though, once again, it's panic time.
Yeah,
Listen, it's hard for me to do an MRI, and I've got that bulb in my hand that lets me get right back out if it don't work. I mean, I couldn't do it.
And if you go in a cave, okay, you've got the light. I'm clumsy.
No.
I dropped the light. Now I'm trying to find where the light is. I'm panicking on where the light is. Maybe I even find the light, but then I can't find where I was before I lost the light. And now I'm there and I can't escape the underwater cave.
And you know that you're running out of air, right? And
Right.
this is it. I watched some, this wasn't even cave diving, this was just caving. I watched some, who knows, Discovery, Science, PBS, who knows, one of those channels. So these guys are in this cave, a cave that has, they've discovered like new passages in it, and they're not explored. And this guy, head first, you guys, is shoving himself into a hole that is like a little bit bigger than like a basketball. And he's wedging, he's turning this way and he's turning that way and he's sliding in on his belly. And I'm looking at that. I don't know what would have to be on the other side of that passage to send me in. How about you? I just don't think, I think I'm too crazy and not in a fun way.
No, Sheri, I'm with you on this. I really am. But if you know yourself, you know, yeah, that's not going to be a fun experience.
No. So there you go. I just thought, since I had just been reading about how science doesn't know where the ocean comes from. And this was, I read this 2 days after I read that science also isn't 100% clear on how general anesthesia works. They're just like, we just know it does. We're not so sure how, we just know it does. As a person who loves science and believes in science, when science goes, I don't know, I mean, what are you going to do? That is like such an existential free fall for me. We don't know how anesthesia works. We don't know where the ocean came from. Oh my God.
And we don't know if the aliens are using the ocean almost exclusively to be able to come and go, because so much of it's not explored.
Oh yeah, that's where you would go hide if you were an alien.
You guys, I did not bring it up on the regular Bob and Sheri show. I have been behaving myself so hard, but there's something that I must tell you now since you brought it up. So let me pull it up so I can get it right here in front of me. 2 stories that I have not done on the regular Bob and Sheri show. 1, NASA gives cryptic explanation as to why astronauts had to be hospitalized. Okay, so cryptic. Why does it have to be cryptic? What the hell is going on there? The Loch Ness Monster's been spotted again. The mystery of the planet Uranus has been solved. And Max knows who this guy is because we talked about him on a recent True Weird Stuff episode. He is retired Navy Admiral Tim Gallaudet.
Mm-hmm.
Does that ring a bell?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's going to be testifying as to underwater alien activity. And I just...
Lamar, I'm sorry. I'm sorry we did this to you.
No,
this is in my news feed, y'all. This is in my news feed. Tim Gallaudet. We talked about him at the end of our Sea Monster True Weird Stuff episode. I decided that I would not bring up Admiral Gallaudet or NASA or the Loch Ness Monster or anything, because I know how y'all feel, and you'd much rather talk about the top 10 things you can do with maple syrup that doesn't involve a pancake. And now you know, all of you Oddcast listeners who don't listen to me and Max and Doc on True Weird Stuff, now you understand that we had to have an outlet for that other stuff, because I like maple syrup as much as the next person. But how many times can I talk about it? So that's it for this Oddcast. Be with us Friday when we have a brand new episode of Talking Lamar.
Yes.
And just like Lamar learns about the ocean and aliens and physics from me, I learn about Lamar's upbringing from Lamar. And I don't know which of us is more shocked by some of these revelations, if I'm being real. So you definitely want to join us for the very next Talking Lamar this Friday. And we'll also drop a brand new episode of True Weird Stuff. And I do believe that this episode that we're going to drop this week is about the identical twin doctors, the Marcus brothers, identical twin gynecologists and fertility experts. That may ring a bell because there was a movie loosely based on their life and then an Amazon show. But the reality is so much better than Hollywood. 844-52-SHERI. We'd love to hear from you. If you have the Bob and Sheri app, it's free. Look at the little microphone bottom center of the screen, tap it and talk. We'd love your input. And if you'd like to join us on an episode of the Oddcast. Thanks for listening. You're the reason we do it. We'll see you next time.